You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 119 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Cashel Company. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
Happy New Year! We're excited to start the year with Amplify Horse Racing for a collab episode. We then catch up with Winnie Morgan Nemeth from New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program to share how to look up history on your Standardbred, and we introduce our adoptable horse of the week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
And this is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you're listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Oh my gosh, Kristen, I know we're recording this early, but listeners will be hearing this after the new year. But would love everyone to know if I sound a little strange, it's because my dear, loving partner, Zach, gifted me RSV this holiday season.
Not a pie. Way to go,
Not
Zach.
Not a pie. So the good news is he is also in the same boat. I wouldn't call it good news. I feel bad for him, actually. But,
Not a good thing to share.
If listeners are like, why is she like this? It's definitely not a new trend. It's not to sound a certain level of sexy.
It was working. I'm very turned on right now, Joy.
Well, there we go. That's one.
Right off the bat.
Win
All
is a
right.
win.
Happy New Year, folks. Here we
Happy
go.
New Year. But it's okay. Other than that, like feeling pretty good. I'm excited to get back to riding because I got a new saddle today and I can't go try it out. And that is really bumming me out, Kristen.
Oh man, that is the worst. You're just looking at it
world problems right there.
Well, yeah, but it's an equestrian problem. Soon though, it will be
soon. There. We're like counting down the days and it's not quite Christmas yet as we're recording this. So I'm hoping at least my Christmas present is I will be perfectly healthy. I'll have my normal voice again and I will be in my new saddle and I will hope it fits because I swear if it doesn't, I'm probably going to blow my vocal cords.
It might be easier at this point to keep the saddle and just find a new horse. Just kidding. We would never do that to Astrid.
I know, like, at this point, I'm like, I don't need like a sugar daddy. I need like a sugar saddle fitter. Is that a thing?
Yeah, we should make it a thing. I don't know how to get that started.
I'll take applications in 2024.
Yeah, if anybody knows, please send us a message at Retired Racehorse Radio.
Yes, if anyone knows of a sugar saddle fitter.
Yeah, that'd be
hit me up. Well, how about you? What are you up to?
Not a whole lot, actually. Like December is our quiet month. I mean, it's my quiet month at work, and I just turn to a lot of homey indoor things. So American Fair dough is still cooking, like we mentioned last time. Having a lot of fun with him. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back and listen to episode 118. But yeah, I actually try intentionally to not do a lot of riding in December and focus on all the stuff I've been putting off all year with my horses. So this year it's getting everybody real cool with being alone some of the time. So when we lost Gandalf in November, now we're just down to 3 horses, which means if Eric and I are both riding, someone is going to have to be left alone somewhere. So, just for general safety's sake, all of my horses, I want them to be comfortable with being alone.
Yeah.
They're generally good about going out and riding.
It's such a hard skill to teach.
It's a really hard thing to teach. So what I'm trying to do, to be fairly efficient in my training, so I'm not burning my limited hours of daylight at the barn doing this, is I'll bring one horse in, that horse gets groomed, goes and does a little bit of work. So groundwork mostly. Jobber's been doing a lot of lunging and some hiking. Shorty's been getting just body work, but outside, out in the driveway of the barn. And Wes, I actually do ride from time to time. Wes is learning how to lunge because I don't think he's ever been lunged in his life. And he is the go-to reliable winter riding horse for checking cows and stuff. But anyway, one horse goes out and works. That horse comes in and then is served his grain meal tied in the barn. And then a second horse comes in. I take that horse out and do something brief with that. So the horse that was in the barn has to see the horse come in and then leave. So then that horse is like, you are alone. And then there's a horse that's out in the paddock that is also alone. And then everybody just has to be okay with being alone. So I don't know if there's a better way to do that. It's knock wood. It's been working pretty well. Jobber is usually the worst offender, and he's been standing fairly quietly in the barn as the first horse and eating, and not like pawing a hole in the wall or pulling himself loose or pooping everywhere, being a disaster. So I think it's working. I'll report back again in a couple episodes.
That's amazing. I'm actually, Millie, who is the horse I have in training, she hates being, and that's interesting. It's like other horses can be in the barn, but she wants to be where the people are. She doesn't want to be left alone. She does not want to be the decision maker. That is not her vibe. I'm learning very quickly. And it's funny because the 12-year-old girl who owns her, they have the exact same personality. I was like, this is going to be very interesting. So I've been working with her to like be comfortable in being in a space by herself. And so I'll have her cross-tied, and ours have like the baling twine. So if she were to pull, like it's going to break very easily.
Right.
But I'll like walk behind her because our observation room is there. So I'll walk up behind her, come back, give her some scratches because she is a very much positive reinforcement kind of girly. She'd rather have scratches than food. And then I'll walk to my tack locker and I come back, and then I go to the like somewhere else in the barn, and just slowly increasing that time where she knows like someone's always going to come back, and it's okay for me to be here. She was getting so antsy and pacey, and for a 12-year-old, that's a lot to deal with. She wasn't dangerous, but might as well try to make it as easy as possible. And she's progressing really well with that type of training. But it's hard.
It's hard. And it's like, I guess this is correct, right? Like they don't really write like a playbook.
It's a trial and error.
Yeah, you just sort of figure out what works. So the next step will be, January and February, Eric starts riding more again because his hunting seasons are over. So then we'll start close to the barn, riding 2 with 1 in the paddock. And we'll just gradually start to make that radius a little bit bigger and eventually get out of sight. So we're not going to go like right out right away, because I think that's going to be a recipe for disaster for whoever is left behind. But we're just going to start like getting further and further away and hope it goes well.
Well, the nice thing about winter rides is they're so much shorter too. So.
Right. Yeah, we're not going out for hours and hours and miles away anyway. So
unless you hate your life, but
no. Gosh, no. Although, I don't know, it's been kind of a warm winter. So, which I honestly, unpopular opinion, I'd prefer some snow because it's so much cleaner. Yeah, the mud
is killer.
Yeah. If you ever tried to keep a border collie in this, it does not work.
But Sage looks so happy.
She is happy. She's just filthy.
Yeah. I totally get you. Like this winter, Astrid just getting focused on retraining her brain because I've always I think I just enabled this 7 to 10 minutes of brilliance. And if you listen to our last episode with Coach Jen, really starting to embrace this concept of she's never been taught to work through intervals. It's always been, we do the hard work and then I get to rest and then you leave me alone. And I kind of caved into that because I was so focused on ending on a good note. I didn't want to over push. I'm maybe she's unfit. Maybe she's uncomfortable. No, she just doesn't know. That's okay. She's actually quite fit and it's fine. So we're doing a lot of interval type training, lots of transition. So the first part is her normal warm up. And then this is where it's been fun, where I asked her to come back into work and she's like, excuse you, what did you just ask me to do? So we've been working through that first temper tantrum and just keeping it super easy. It's a very simple ask, whether it's just the transition, but I don't care where she goes, or focus on straightness, but don't care about the speed. Just a really simple ask to start. And then the last part is creating those intervals of walk, trot, halt, walk, trot, canter, just slowly increasing how many transitions we put into a time and lots of reward. And it's sometimes really fun. Sometimes she's not too angry about it. This last week, she was kind of mad because she was napping a little bit stiff coming in. But it's
a logical approach, though,
Yeah, and it's honestly each time she's been better. So I'm okay, well, this is working out. She isn't throwing a temper tantrum in between the first and second ask. It's more the third to fourth, and it's temper tantrums are pretty mild anyway. It's mostly she stomps her shoulders or tosses her head around. It's not anything super serious. It's watching a 2-year-old who's not getting the lollipop they want. But it's just helping her stop to anticipate what the ride's going to be and listen a little bit more. So, I'm learning too, just with everyone else, learning a little bit more about life on the track and trying to make her adjustment to, I'm going to call it the real world with an amateur owner, a little bit easier. So excited for it though. Excited for both of us to see how our horses deal with some of these more unique challenges.
Yeah. You can always count on us to bring it the real content.
Yep.
Of retired racehorse ownership.
The wins and the cries every single time. But I am really excited. So we're starting the year with a pretty unique episode. We're doing a collaboration with Amplify, so a little different than our normal setup, but I think listeners are really going to like it. So we'll be diving into that shortly. But before we do, we're going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
This nutritional minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. Biotin is a B vitamin and has become commonplace in feed rooms across the world because of its reputation as an effective hoof supplement. An interesting fact that was discovered by researchers looking at biotin's impact on hoof quality was that horses with normal blood levels of biotin still had poor quality hoof horn, and that despite normal blood levels, horses responded to high doses of biotin given orally. This tells us that unhealthy hooves are not necessarily a result of a deficiency. Over the years, multiple other studies have found a statistically significant improvement in overall hoof condition when horses are supplemented with at least 20 milligrams of biotin per day. Researchers found that if improvement in hoof quality was seen within 8 to 15 months of supplementation, the horse would need to remain on biotin the rest of its life to maintain that improvement. Other nutrients such as zinc, methionine, and iodine can also affect hoof quality. A well-balanced hoof supplement will contain all of these nutrients in addition to the 20 milligrams of biotin per serving. When you're looking for an affordable, effective hoof supplement, we recommend Caraform Hoof and Coat Supplement. If you want a show ring shine and strong, healthy hooves, you can count on Caraform. You can learn more about Caraform at kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Amplify Horse Racing podcast in collaboration with the Retired Racehorse Radio podcast. So we're super excited to bring our audience members this really special episode with a group that I admire, a podcast that I've been able to be part of in the past, and a mission that Caitlin and I are both really passionate about when it comes to off-the-track thoroughbred. So I'm excited to welcome Kristen Kovach-Bentley and Joy Orr, both co-hosts of the Retired Racehorse Radio podcast. And for any RRR podcast members who are new to the Amplify podcast, I'd like to introduce you to Caitlin Christopherson, who is my co-host. She is part of GSS, the marketing agency. So we love their work and they help us out at Amplify Horse Racing. So thank you so much for joining today. And we're so excited to dive in. Kristen and Joy, thanks so much for jumping on board with this wonderfully crazy idea.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. We love doing collaborative stuff like this. So, and no better folks to do it with. So thanks very much for having us.
Absolutely.
I had joined Joy on the Retired Racehorse Radio podcast back in, 2020, I think it might have been. I think it was December.
Has it been that long? Back when I had a normal voice? That's so exciting.
And then we finally met in person by accident last year when Amplify was hosting an event at Keeneland for Retired Racehorse Project participants to come out and learn about morning training. And you were having a donut, and we finally got to meet. So I didn't realize it was you.
I know. So you saw me and you were like, Joy? I was like, a niece? It was great. It was great to finally meet you because I felt like we've had so many conversations. I mean, we have because you were on the podcast, but even in between, it's been such a pleasure seeing everything you've been doing with Amplify and then get a chance to meet you. It just felt like, long-term friendship. It was great.
I love the long distance friends. I've met several of my best friends through social media or, through the podcasting or media community in the equine industry. And so it's so fun to be able to have collaborations like this. And I'm just so pumped to have you guys on. It's a small world in equine land, and even smaller when you get into thoroughbreds. So I think to start off, I actually don't know a lot of the history of the Retired Racehorse Radio. Can you guys talk through how it developed and how it came to be, how long you've been around?
Yeah, I can take that one. I'm going to apologize to all your listeners because I don't normally sound like this, but I was lucky enough to get the winter sickness that everyone got, but couldn't miss this for the world. I'm so excited to be here. But if you listen to Retired Racehorse Radio, you'll hear my normal voice. You will. So the history about our podcast is I pitched the idea to Horse Radio Network in 2018. I had just gotten my first off the track thoroughbred and realized it was a very big learning curve to kind of retrain her for that. Like a really big learning curve. I was crying a lot. And then I found myself, yes. And I was like digging for information constantly. And I was like, there's so many people who get these horses. There's got to be a better way to do this. I hope I'm not the only person crying after every time going to the barn. So I pitched this idea. The initial project was called the Thoroughbred 30, and it was going to be like a 30-minute training podcast. And I love how it evolved to Retired Racehorse Radio, where we got to partner. We officially launched February of 2019. So we're coming up to our 5th birthday, which is wild and bizarre. Still can't believe people listen. That shocks me regularly. But we ended up making this more a holistic overview of aftercare and retraining and healthcare and how do you rehab. We partnered with New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program, where their head trainers come out and offer training advice and we feature an adoptable horse every single episode, which I really love. That was super important to me because my horse came from New Vocations. And then we also partnered with the Retired Racehorse Project, which is how I met Kristen, and to feature the Thoroughbred Makeover that really goes into the second careers of horses and just shows the diversity that thoroughbreds can offer to people. Now we've really gotten to branch into standardbreds too. So it's just coming full circle. We've done quarter horses, Arabians, and we even had an episode on greyhounds, which I know they're not horsey, but they race too. So anyone who's been on a track is welcome.
I love that. And we're all dog fans. Like if you're a horse fan, you're a dog fan too.
I know.
So.
Mine's like running around right now. So you might see her at some point. Who knows?
Natural collaboration there. No, and I love that. We were all talking before the show about the different riding disciplines that we're all involved in our personal horsey lives. You know, Caitlin is at a hotel because she's at a horse show right now. And she's into the hunter jumper world. Last year I dove into polo, which has now become a complete and total obsession. Kristen, I was saying I had no idea that you were involved in the working ranch horse. Like you actually use your off the track thoroughbreds for working on your family's ranch. Enjoy, you're involved in dressage. So Kristen, handing it over to you, how did you come to this crazy world of off the track thoroughbreds?
So I think like a lot of people, I saw the video from the makeover and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. I think I could do that. Because I think in 2017, they ran it like reined cow horse. So you were, coming out and boxing a cow, taking it down the fence and circling it, which is extremely hard to do with a quarter horse that's purpose bred for that in a year. And I was like, I don't understand how people are doing this with thoroughbreds, but I also think I could do that because I had a whole lot of like false hubris at the time and really thought I was, hot shit. So probably the same year actually that Joy was crying on her way home. So was I a lot with my also chestnut thoroughbred, trying to get him ready for the makeover. But we had an excellent time at the makeover. We were 7th in ranch work. We participated in freestyle. So that year at the makeover, they had taken cows out of ranch work. And I was like, that was like my one advantage. Like, so they've taken that away. So for freestyle, I found a local cattle producer and she brought me a cow in a trailer and dropped the cow in the ring. And I just chased it around for 5 minutes and then put it back on the trailer and she left. So I still got to work my cow at the makeover. And then right after that, then this communications manager position opened up at Retired Racehorse Project. And they were like, hey, are you ready to make a move? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I've been there ever since. So we always say like results not typical. When you do the makeover, you don't necessarily also then get hired by RRP, but it worked out for me that time. So, and then Joy, when did I join Retired Racehorse Radio? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, going on 2 years now.
About 2-year anniversary in the spring. So,
but I will say you were like an ad hoc guest because you would come on pretty
I would come
frequently.
on a lot, yeah.
So you're like an unofficial host, and then we just made it official.
Right. Yeah, I just got my foot in the door and then
It
my
all
whole
worked
leg
out.
and the whole rest of me. Yeah. So.
And
But yeah, I mean, they make great ranch horses. We have a lovely time with them. So my husband rides our other one. So we couldn't figure out how to beat the ranch winner in 2018. So we bought him. So that's the horse my husband rides.
that really worked out.
Yeah, it worked out great for all of us. So yeah, it's just fun. It's nice to be able to share that with my husband too. So, because otherwise I'd be at the barn all day and he wouldn't see me. So he's like, well, this way I get to see you. So
Yeah, might as well join them.
right.
That is awesome. And Joy, how about the dressage world? It sounds like you started with Arabians, and then where did thoroughbreds come into the picture for you?
Yeah, so I started with Arabians, which is also a very non-traditional dressage horse. My parents hoped that I would get into reining. That was the goal. That's what they were breeding their Arabs for. I was like, no thanks. That saddle's too heavy for me, and I'm lazy. So I went the English world. And I took a couple lessons on some warm bloods, and that was fine. They were so much bigger than my Arabians, so that was a bit scary. I went from like a 14-2 Arab to a 17-3 Percheron thoroughbred cross. Very interesting. My father, I think, almost had a small stroke that day. But as I got older and, you know, my horses were getting older, I had my Arabs all through the last years of their life. I'm 5'8", and I was ready to get my next horse, and I love the quickness and hotness of an Arab. They're so smart. They're so personable. And thoroughbreds have that same tenacity. And so I was invited by one of my friends to go to the local racetrack. And he's the one who introduced me to them and took me to his farm. Oddly enough, he was fostering my horse from New Vocations that I have currently. It was a trap. It was a total trap to get her. It's fine. And ever since, like, I just can't see going back. She's been everything that I've asked for. Some things I haven't asked for, they were surprises. But for the most part, it's just, she's made me such an incredible horseman. I wouldn't be half the rider I am today without her.
Or like the everything, like, you know, I'm much better at nutrition. I'm a lot better at first aid, you know.
Oh my gosh. Well, maybe not my
but
horse. My horse is a cockroach. Like,
yeah,
she's going to survive a nuclear
wood,
war.
yeah, your horse is in good shape. Mine are constantly trying to off themselves. So
yeah,
trying to get really good at all the other parts of horsemanship too. So thanks.
But
guys.
I mean, mental health wise, like, that's a trade-off because we got 4 whirls. There's a lot of personality in my horse.
I also have a chestnut, not a chestnut mare, but a chestnut gelding. And he's the sweetest boy. Also, I like the description of cockroach because he would also probably, knock on wood, survive anything. But the whirls are there. So, but Caitlin also has the New Vocations connection through her off the track thoroughbred. So Caitlin, talk about the famous Charles.
Charles, I actually, I remember listening to Retired Racehorse Radio when I finally decided that I was ready to start my search and trying to figure out, do as much homework as possible, figure out what I was getting into. I've been working in the industry for some time. I grew up riding actually Arabians and quarter horses also. And I'd been working in horse racing for about 5 years, and I just knew how many beautiful, talented, athletic horses there were out there. And so, yeah, my initial research was a lot of Retired Racehorse Radio listening, any podcasts or any information I could get my hands on. And I found Charles during COVID. He was actually at their Covington, Louisiana facility. And I think he was on the website for like a couple of days. And then my friend said we were actually doing some client work. It was about 8 months into COVID. We were in Charlestown, West Virginia for the races at Charlestown. And my partner, Molly McGill, said there were 2 thoroughbreds I was looking at, and, she saw Charles, and all I had was video of him just trotting around an arena. Like, didn't know if he could jump, didn't know if he wanted to jump, didn't know, if he wanted to have a saddle on him, anything. But I went for it, put the deposit down, and he showed up about 2 weeks later. And so, yeah, we celebrated our 3rd year together this September. And he has been, I completely relate to the crying, like it's tears, sweat, blood, the self-doubt, the feeling, or like the thinking going in with a lot of hubris and thinking exactly what you're doing and exactly what the road ahead looks like, and then having that change about 50 million times. But he's been fantastic. I owe so much to him. We've achieved our goals. He's taken me we've taken each other from the 2-foot hunters to now the national derbies. And he is just fantastic. He's taught me so much horsemanship and so much feel for, exactly not just for jumping, but for just developing a horse properly, getting them balanced, getting them physically, mature and ready. He, like all horses, he has his things. So we have to monitor and keep a close watch on his feet, and he gets his benefits from his chiro and PEMF and all of that. But what he gives back to me and what he's given back to me is, my riding, I took a 15-year hiatus between when I was 15 years old and when I was 30. And I would never have thought that I would be back at this level, within a couple of years. And it's all because of him. So yeah, Charles, he's wonderful. And I think the thing there is, you have to stick with it. I will have to say, like, it truly, even to this day, he's almost 7. I got him when he was 3. It still takes a village. The best thing that happened was that at the time, my boyfriend, now fiance, we had been dating, and it was like relatively new, but he was very, very supportive of it. And he has been Charles's biggest fan on the days when I've come home from the barn and said, I can't do this anymore. So having that support around you, whether it's family or significant other or a group of horse friends, podcasts, it has to be there.
For any of the Amplify listeners out there that might not have been through the journey of retraining an off the track thoroughbred, we don't want to scare you away. This is an educational experience, and this is why you should check out other podcasts like Retired Racehorse Radio. But we, Amplify, again, this year hosted the same event that you came to last year, Joy, in that during the Retired Racehorse makeover, we hosted a morning out at Keeneland to invite RRP participants and supporters to come watch morning training and to learn about how racehorses are trained. Because by the time you get a horse that has come off the track, it's like, being a adult that has gone to university to get your undergrad in one subject, and then you realize that you can't have your career in that anymore. So now you have to go back and get a new undergrad for something. And I think it really
develop your body physically.
Yeah, exactly. Redevelop your body physically, mentally. And I think people are really surprised, and it really helps too when they understand, now I see why my horse doesn't respond to leg pressure. He has a rider on his back, or had a rider on his or her back with their stirrups hyped way up. So leg pressure was not necessarily a thing, standing for a mounting block, not a thing when your horse is at the track,
I think working alone is a big one. Like,
yeah,
it's hard for me to work horses alone initially because they're barely alone on the track. Even if they're breezing, there's other horses out there with them. So they're never really solo.
Well, even like manners you take for granted, like cross tying or standing outside the stall or not having a standard routine. So then they get antsy. And, with letdown time or aftercare programs, some of those things can get whittled out before it comes to you. But if you're getting one right off the track, our show really does try to tell the story from the track. So you know why they have those behaviors when you do bring them home. So you're not getting frustrated and you're like, why are you like this? Well, they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
And to your comment, Anise, about not trying to scare anybody off, that's absolutely the case. I would just, my advice now to people, I honestly think everybody should do it. I want to see more hunter jumper people doing it because I think they need it, honestly. It's one thing to jump around a warm blood that has been born and bred to do that, but to develop your eye and your riding style on a horse that you have to use a lot different finesse on is entirely different thing. I would just say for anybody doing it, just be prepared. It's going to make you a better rider and a better person. I think I've learned a lot about leadership within my company, and just, there's a lot of like emotional maturity that, has to come to get through the toughest part. So be prepared to become a better rider and a better person, but just know that you are going to question yourself a lot. You're going to doubt yourself a lot. You're going to wonder if you ever understood horses at all, or if it was all just a fluke. So just be prepared to have a transformational experience.
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate rite of passage. They're a horseman's horse. Absolutely. Like, if you want to know if you're a horseman, get yourself an off-track thoroughbred and then you'll take that thing by the reins. Yep. Yeah. And then you'll be like, oh my God, I'm not. I don't know what I'm doing. But you'll come out the other side and it'll all be great. So yes, everybody should do it.
That is so funny. I love that. I remember the first time when my horse Larry, I did not have a great facility to retrain him at. We didn't have an indoor or an outdoor arena. It was like a pasture and a gravel road or riding in the paddock. And he definitely, when I took some good contact on his mouth, was like, oh, that means go. And he ran me down a ditch and into a farmer's field. And it's so funny now because he's the sweetest, most docile horse that I just trail ride with him. But we definitely had our come to Jesus moments over time. But that's okay. Again, I'm a better person now. Now I can process more, think more about what the horse is thinking and feeling, regardless of what horse I'm riding or what discipline it is. I think maybe now I have a more horse first mentality rather than being so focused on my riding. It's more like, how can I respond to what the horse is telling me as I ride? So
I'd agree with that. I'd 100% agree with that.
So I don't want to commandeer the conversation, guys. I feel like I just ran with it. This is our co-podcast.
Well, I was going to ask the same, very similar question for our listeners who might not be familiar with Amplify, just to kind of give a high level of what you do and a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so Amplify is a 501c3 nonprofit to get youth and young adults involved in the thoroughbred industry and hopefully introduced to pathways to further involvement. So whether that's a career, maybe that's becoming an owner, maybe it is taking on an off the track thoroughbred, maybe it's becoming a more educated and involved fan. So whatever your interest level and avenue is that you want to go down, we want to help to support you in that. And it's very funny. A lot of our partners and people who we work with through Amplify, Caitlin being a great example, are, not originally from a state that has heavy involvement in the thoroughbred industry, but somehow we became interested and got connected to this amazing world. And so we're very passionate about if there is a youth somewhere, regardless of what state you're in and how you become interested, whether it's through watching racing on TV We have a lot of youth who come to us because they saw a movie about a racehorse like Seabiscuit, Secretariat, Dreamer, Racing Stripes. We talked a lot about the movie Seabiscuit on another recent episode.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. For me, it was the movie Ruffian, and you want to embark on that path to be involved. We want to make it easier. So we do behind the scenes educational tours. We have a mentorship program that's really geared towards 15 to 25-year-olds approximately. We don't have a hard and fast age if you're out of that age range. And if you're under 18, you have parental support. Or if you're over 25 and you want to embark on this journey, you can apply for our mentorship program, and we'll pair you up with an industry professional in your area of interest. Or if you don't know yet what area of interest you have, we'll pair you up with somebody who's compatible personality-wise, and they can work together over the course of 3 months to develop really a next step plan. So, whether you want to go into the aftercare world or learn about sales or the racetrack or marketing and communications, veterinary medicine, we're going to try to set you up with the best possible opportunities to learn and engage with that avenue of the industry. So our resources have really expanded. Caitlin has been with the podcast from the very beginning. And, this has turned into an incredible resource for us to be able to share with people about, explaining avenues of the industry in a really educational, non-industry jargon way. Because I think that the equine industry in general, we have a lot of terminology that we would understand, but somebody who's outside of that would, think it sounds like a foreign language. So we go through and try to explain very nuanced aspects of the industry in a way that somebody could understand and makes it more approachable. So another recent episode was talking about settlements. I'm not even going to try to explain it. Just go listen to the podcast because it's really complicated, but essentially understanding where money goes after it's been wagered on horse racing, to, what the day in the life of a racetrack executive entails. We've had veterinarians on, we've explained rules and regulations, we've talked about aftercare. So trying to just lower those barriers to entry and make the process as approachable as possible.
To add to that, Anise, I was going to say, I think what we're trying to do is provide resources that we may not have had when we first got into the industry, because we have very similar stories, being from North Dakota, being from Texas, and then being horse girls, but not race horse girls. And, seeing a movie or, reading a book and being inspired and eventually making our way to Lexington and finding a path in the industry. But it was, took a lot of tenacity and ambition and just kind of being in the right place at the right time. And I think if we want this sport to continue to grow and evolve, which is going to make it better for everybody, including the retired racehorses, we need to keep bringing young, energetic, excited people with different viewpoints and different experiences and different backgrounds into the industry.
I love that. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like it feels like, when you just drive around or go visit farms and stuff in Lexington, you're like, this feels like an old white man thing. Very much like, so I think it's so cool what you guys are doing to help bring in, just.
Yeah. You're like, if I step on this property, will I immediately be arrested?
Yeah. Like, ooh, am I allowed to be here?
A little bit. Yeah. It kind of feels that way.
So we want to change, make it more accessible. And, I guess it goes back to that saying, like, you can't be what you can't see. And Kristen, that is a good point. I think a lot of people who aren't involved in the industry would have a very distinct picture of who the faces of thoroughbred racing are. And, the more that we can diversify amongst, how we're engaging young people, where we're engaging young people, showing anybody that they can have an opportunity to be part of the sport, the better it's going to make the whole industry, because we're adding new and fresh ideas, new faces, and, it just makes it more fun, right? It's already a global sport, so you might as well just make sure that people from everywhere and anywhere know that they can be part of it and take advantage of the opportunities that it offers.
Well, that's why we're so excited to collaborate with you guys, because I think a lot of people, like, their first involvement with a thoroughbred is an off the track horse. If they're a horse girl that takes a lesson on an OTTB and they don't know, anything else. And that's not to say that all OTTB riders are racing fans and vice versa, because they're just not completely inclusive, and that's fine. Like, you don't have to like racing to ride a thoroughbred, and you don't have to be into OTTBs and horse sports to be into racing. But I think there is so much room for those worlds to come together and realize that, like, we're all on the same side here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you understand, I think I probably lived in a bubble for a long time too. I was I'm going to use the saying, blinkers on, to just, learn about racing, immerse myself in racing. I loved horses, but kind of like Caitlin, I took a little hiatus for a while. But I think the more I've learned about other riding disciplines, and I've really, I guess a lot of that is through the thoroughbred aftercare world, expose myself to other disciplines and other sectors of the equine industry, the more it enriches your entire experience and opens your eyes to all the opportunities that are out there in horses in general. It's great to have your bubble that you're really passionate about, but I think it's also great to explore other avenues of the industry. And again, Caitlin, you're such a good example of that, because you balance your career, which, lends itself heavily to racing, so well with your passion, which is showing.
Always been a goal of mine to be able to horse show and work at the same time. So
that is the dream, right? Like,
I'll be a professional rider, because that was definitely not going to happen. Yeah. But yeah, it's something that, and as I am into it more now, and now that I do have this horse that, we've now competing successfully in the national derbies and the adult hunters, like, I have a platform that I can show people who from both worlds that might not be totally, that their thought process might not be, oh, thoroughbreds can still be hunters, or it might not be in the, racehorse world, oh, we need more exposure at, the rated shows for thoroughbreds. So I feel like I'm able to, like, as you mentioned, balance both of those things and hopefully, like, educate both sides, because it's what I experience and see, like, on a daily basis when I'm competing. I think some people still think that thoroughbreds can't be competitive as hunters, and it's understandable. People are spending insane amounts of money to import horses from Europe. But it's definitely, it can be proven otherwise, that with time and dedication and the right partner, something that I was saying to Anise before we hopped on was, so I'm actually at a jumper show this weekend, and I don't have my thoroughbred with me because he is strictly a hunter. I think a lot of people think, oh, a retired racehorse, it can really only go fast. It can't do, like, the best lead changes, or it needs to be an eventer or a jumper if it's going to jump something. He's the opposite. He is a hunter through and through. So he has no interest in jumping brightly colored sticks. And it just goes to show, how much potential is out there in every horse. And I think the Retired Racehorse Project, one of the amazing things that it does is show how versatile the breed is, because it truly, I always thought Arabians were very versatile and quarter horses, but I mean, I'm not sure, I love all breeds to be certain, but I'm not sure that you could have a similar competition for other breeds where you would be able to have so many different disciplines that you can show the horses it can excel in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think that is I think it is one of the few events like that where you can stand in one spot and pivot, on the spot and be like, there's 10 disciplines going on right now, and a lot of horses cross enter too. So, we don't see a lot of crossover between some disciplines, but there's polo, there's freestyle, there's ranch work, there's hunters, there's jumpers, there's the eventing, the typical thoroughbred.
The field hunters,
the field hunters. Oh my gosh, that's the most fun to watch those. So yeah, that's my shameless plug to come out to the makeover, everybody, and watch the field hunters in the morning. But it's a lot of fun.
Future goal of mine, definitely to do polo at the makeover.
Oh, heck yeah. We would love to see you there. That'd be awesome.
5-year plan, vision board, definitely on there.
Oh, let's accelerate that 3-year plan.
Love that.
We'll get you there. Yeah. That'll be fun. So with you guys with Amplify this year, do you have, particular success stories with the mentorship program in particular, or notable alums or anything cool to share with that program?
Yeah, a couple of really interesting stories. We had a mentee from our first year when we launched the program. We launched it as a pilot project with specific parameters. We didn't want to accept a whole herd of mentees in our first year. We wanted to have a pretty limited amount, be very targeted and, who we're pairing them with for mentors, making sure that we're kind of handpicking mentors that we knew were going to be very good mentors. And now we have a very specific training program and orientation for people who want to be mentors. They have to have letters of recommendation and a background check and all of that. So we had a mentee in our first intake in 2021 who had already graduated university and had a full-time job, but he was very passionate about racing and had no idea where to start in even considering a career in the industry. And his professional field was in accounting. And when he came into our program, we accepted him because he was really ambitious and excited to learn more and wanted to pursue a career. But at the time, it wasn't going to make sense for him to leave his current job to just move on and work in the racing industry. And now 2 years later, this year, he reached out to me and said, I'm ready to move on to a new job, and I want that to be in the thoroughbred industry. I'm willing to relocate states. He was in Michigan, and he now has a job working at TaylorMade here in Lexington, Kentucky. So that was a really exciting example of, you never know when and how it might fit into your life, but if you have a dream and it's something you're very passionate about and you follow that and you follow up with people who are willing to help you, we want to help people make that transition. We had another one of our first intake mentees. He went through the University of Arizona racetrack industry program. He's a senior now, and I was at the Global Symposium on Racing in December, and they had a small presentation there for students and award winners, and he was selected as the top, honored as the top senior in his program. So it was very exciting to see him. We've had a multitude of mentees that have gone on to, careers and internships in the industry. And I'm so proud. And whether or not they go on to actually work in racing or work in the thoroughbred industry in some capacity, at least we know they're leaving our program with a better understanding and a respect for how the industry works. And hopefully they've had a positive experience and they can, speak positively about the thoroughbred industry as a whole. Caitlin, on our last episode, got to meet two of our star mentees from this year, Sydney Patrick and Paula Castro. They are both, one of them is interested in breeding and really the farm world. The other one is interested in veterinary medicine. They were selected we did a special travel award program this year for outstanding mentees. We awarded them with a travel grant to come to Kentucky in November and really go behind the scenes of all aspects of the industry. So they went to Ashford Stud. We went to WinStar to learn about breaking and training. We went to new Vocations. They got to experience the Keeneland November sale, look at horses with a consignor, look at horses with a bloodstock agent. We had a young professionals networking event. So it was a really exciting year for the mentorship program. I could go on about it for a long, long time. But on the subject of exciting things this year, I was telling Caitlin this earlier. I would say the highlight of 2023 was actually Briarfest. We were a little bit trepidatious about dipping our toes into that world because I had never gone to Briarfest as a kid. It was always something I probably would have loved to do, and I still to this day have a ton of Briar horses. But it was such a great place to interact with kids that are just so hungry to be involved with horses. Like there were a lot of them that we interacted with, and actually Amplify teamed up with Horse Country to conduct engagement there, have what we called an activation. So we had an equicizer where kids could learn how to ride a racehorse. We had a photo op with a giant life-size picture of Rachel Alexandra, a touch and feel feed station, a touch and feel tack station. We gave away a thoroughbred themed Briar horse every day. We taught kids how to make a racetrack in a test tube. And the kids they asked such good questions, and they just want to be around horses, learn more about horses, immerse themselves in the horse world. And so it's so fun. And I'm sure you guys can appreciate this as a horse girl, to take yourself back to being a horse kid and just being so hungry for that immersion with horses. So Briarfest was 10 out of 10. We will be there every year. Come visit us.
That's awesome. That sounds like such a rewarding year. And like the work that you get to do is so rewarding too. You know, like I used to teach riding at the university level for a few years. One part I really miss is like the mentoring young people that are really happy to be learning. And like, that's the part I miss the most, is like that rewarding process of like, you know, seeing people leave your program and like know that they're, you know, at least they have the tools, you know, to continue if they want to. So that's really cool. Yeah. Good for you guys.
Well, and a couple of other successes, just to mention really quickly, Anise, is, you know, our work with the Horse Racing Women's Summit.
Yes.
And both of us being there, you spoke or you were on a panel, about Amplify mentorship specifically. And then we even got to meet Paolo there, which was fantastic because her Amplify mentor was the one who convinced her to come. And she was absolutely lovely and met so many amazing women in the industry, from friends and peers her age to Stephanie Horonis. And that was just huge. And then Anise, you moderated at Racing Symposium last week on success stories in thoroughbred racing for the year.
I'm glad you touched on the Horse Racing Women's Summit, because Kristen and Joy, you guys should definitely put it on your, you know, already very busy calendars. I just Googled, I'm like, okay, tagging that for later because I need to talk to them. Yeah. It is so much fun, and it's such a welcoming, inclusive environment. And so, yeah, it was awesome to see a couple of our mentees be able to come and actually connect with their mentors there in person. And Caitlin, it was partially you who really gave me the push that I needed to put the Global Symposium on Racing on my agenda for this year. And then getting asked to moderate was like the final, you actually need to go. But it was awesome to actually make it out to, you know, conferences and symposiums and have that further engagement with the industry. And that join Kristen, HRWS next year. Put it on your calendar because it's a blast. Great.
We will hopefully be releasing some information very early in 2024 about meetups and dates and the summit. So.
All right. Yeah. We'll put it on our calendar. Yeah. Because who knows? That'd be fun. Joy and I never get to actually meet in person, so it'd be really cool to actually go to an event together. We talk.
Kristen, are you in New York?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like rural New York. Like everyone's like, oh, New York City. I'm like, no, like Buffalo, like south of Buffalo. It's actually faster for me to get to Lexington than it is for me to get to New York City. So,
wow. And Joy, you're in Michigan, right?
I am in the Metro Detroit area. So Chris and I actually live like 4.5 hours from each other.
Like
It's not a bad drive.
Yeah.
But like the one time we got together, it's like a whole weekend for our husbands just to hang out.
Oh my God, they had so much fun. Yeah.
They did have fun, but I would love to do something where it doesn't involve them.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. But yeah, if there's like a horse racing women's husband symposium, we could the two of them can set that up and hang out together.
Or just leave them at home. That's fine too.
That's also fair.
I love that. My boyfriend is involved in racing, and I have another friend whose boyfriend is more like a horse show boyfriend in training. And they ran into each other. Like we all met up at the Fasig-Tipton November sale, and it was so funny. It was like the horse husbands unite, you know? It's like they have their own.
It's a thing. They did it at the makeover too. Like they like find each other, and it's like this little pod. I'm like, you all make fun of girl groups, but look at you.
Oh yeah, they move in a pack. Yeah, like that's why we got the beer truck that one night. It's for the guys. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's like that scene in Step Brothers. Like, do we just become best friends? They're all like,
yes,
and they all run around together.
I know. It's like Zach, Neil Agate, and Tom Mann, they all got together.
No, once you get Tom Mansman involved.
Oh my gosh. And they were just going for like, oh, let's like get a big Airbnb next year, guys. And like, we'll do like these big cooking classes because my boyfriend's in the culinary world. And I'm like, what? I just want to enjoy this horse show. I want to get some good interviews. Like, what are you doing right now? It's like, we're going to go to the Mansmans and we're going to go do polo down there. It's like, what? He's got the whole year planned out.
I love that. One last thing to worry about entertaining now. Like at least you know that they can entertain themselves. True.
Yeah, just turn them loose. They'll figure it out.
And I like too that there's that camaraderie of like, oh, does your wife or significant other, do they do this with their horses? Are they always talking about them? Are they always stressing about them? And it's like, yeah. Like it's you are with a horse girl. What do you like? We have some very common threads that run among us. And so
a support group together, to be honest, would probably be very popular.
We actually did a husbands episode where we had Joy's boyfriend and my husband Eric were our main guests, and then we had our network head Glenn interviewed them about being a racehorse husband. Yes. So that was a good time. So, we're here for everybody.
So funny. There really is something for everyone in this world.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you can think of it, there's a podcast for it. So, yes, welcome to this world.
That's true.
What was your guys' highlight of 2023?
Well, actually, like for us as a podcast, I think honestly, the weekend we got to actually spend together, like goofing around, was really, really fun. Because otherwise,
it's been years in the making. Yeah. Like even before our podcast, and Kristen, I think I was an auditor in 2014. Like you and I have been talking for years. Like we're going on to like 10 years of knowing each other.
Like internet friends. Yeah, never give up. You'll meet your internet friend someday. Yes. That's the moral of the story.
Exactly. So that was just a lot of fun. And I feel like a big highlight for me in particular was our Making the Makeover series. It was our second year doing it, but I just felt like it really solidified the concept. So when we first started Retired Racehorse Radio, we would feature a competitor for the Retired Racehorse Project all the way from March up until like show date in October. And in the beginning, like we changed who it was each time to try to hit as many disciplines as possible. And it was fun. But the way we changed it the last 2 years, where we had like a core group of people joining us every episode, and you got to see every part of their journey. And that was really cool. And I feel like they, for me and for Kristen too, like they become lifelong friends. I Snapchat with most of them, or at least talk to them every day. And, we cried with them, we laughed with them. Like the theme of this year was like, well, if it wasn't great, at least it's content. Like,
Yeah, we're going to put that on a t-shirt. Yeah.
yeah. And like they would find each other at the makeover and like they hype each other up. And it was really rewarding that we kind of helped create a smaller community, but like they're the people you're rooting for at the end of the day. Like people got to know them months before and then see them compete. And that was a really rewarding experience. So excited to have our 3rd cycle coming up. It's wild. And we had a lot of applicants too, which was really cool to be a part of that.
So you guys, people can actually apply to be featured?
Yeah. We just put a post out in the trainers group. So there's a closed secret group. I don't know if it's a secret group or not, but it's a group on Facebook for past and current makeover trainers. So once applications go out, people can join. And then, it's just kind of a safe place for them to be like, oh my gosh, my horse is doing X, Y, or Z. Please help me. And we just put out a call of like, who wants to talk about their makeover journey and is comfortable talking about their makeover journey. And a lot of people think they are. And then you turn the recorders on and they're like, ugh. So, it is what it is, but like people who are like willing to be candid about like what's going great and what's also not going great. That's a big thing is like, you have to be willing to talk about the ugly parts too, but like, we'll make it fun. We'll make it great. And we got like 20 some people who were like,
because the first year we handpicked them just to ensure we were picking people who like stuck with the mission of the makeover because we don't want it to be like too self-promoting either. We wanted people
who are willing to tell their story and talk, and then people that kind of like represent sort of the gamut of trainers, so like adult amateurs who are doing this for the first time. We have professionals. I think we had a junior last year.
We did. And like, she was so well-spoken. Like,
I know, I was like,
she was like 30,
17-year-old, like, gosh.
And she was showing every week. And I'm like, I needed like just half of her energy. I'd be so successful.
The makeover this year in general was just like such a cool experience for us, because I'm there full time anyway for working for RRP, but the number of people who came up to us, like just walking around the horse park and were like, hi, I don't know you, you don't know me, but like I listened to the podcast and I just want to say I love you guys. It was like really moving, like the number of people. It was
like the first time being recognized in public and it scared me because people are like, Joy. And I'm like, hi, do I know you? Like, I listen to Retired Racehorse Radio. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like I get so excited about it. But the first initial would scare me. Like, do I know these people?
Yeah, it was weird like the first day. But by like Thursday afternoon, I was like, this is really cool, that like so many people listen and like go out of their way to tell you that they appreciate, what you're doing. So it was really neat, because otherwise it just feels like Joy and I are just like screaming into the void twice a month, which is fine. We're happy to do that, but it's also good to know that like there's listeners and they respond well and they like it, so thank you guys.
We totally do the same thing. We're like, well, we know we always have 2 listeners. Our moms.
It's us. Yep. Our producer. Thank you. Yeah.
Actually, it was great this year. There were like a couple of full circle moments when, so one of the interns that we ended up bringing on for Women's Summit, she found out about Women's Summit through listening to our podcast. And that was great. We hope we can do more like that in the future.
I actually think we have a listener in the mentor program this year. So, and also someone I know from our horse show series. So she got hit with thoroughbreds on multiple sides and was like, I think I'm going to do this thing. So shout out to Laren.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that is,
Laren, if Laren listens to both podcasts, she's like, right now, she'll be like, wait a minute. So
Laren,
we also show with her. So
Laren's mentor, she got all of our mentors are cool and awesome. Shout out to all of our amazing mentors who share their time with us. But her mentor is Jessica Paquette, who is the announcer for Parks and the first female announcer, first woman to announce a grade 1 race in North America, I believe, if I'm correct. So Laren got a really cool mentor who has some extra special fame, and her mentor, I can confidently say because I talked to her last weekend, also loves Laren. So we love her.
I don't want to embarrass Laren, but like it was the first
I want to embarrass Laren.
Okay, I'm going to embarrass Laren. So sorry, Laren. And I was like leading my horse through the showgrounds, and it was early. I was like, I think right after everybody got paired up, and she pops out of her horse trailer and she's reading her phone, and she's like, do you know who Jessica Paquette is? And I was like, girl, you don't even know. Like, you scored big time on this mentorship thing. And she's like, okay. I was like, go get dressed for your class. I'll tell you later. Like, it was so cute. She was just like, who is this? I was like, oh, okay. Because she's very new to the racing industry, but the more, she listens to Retired Racehorse Radio and hopefully is listening to the Amplify podcast. Like, I think she's like the model mentee, of like someone who just wants to get involved and learn more and, wants to find her path. So,
well, like slight side topic, but I was just thinking in all this conversation, the mentorship, I was like, oh my gosh, Anise, when you came on to Retired Racehorse Radio, it was for the pilot program of the mentorship program. Like, you were just getting started. So it's like we've come full circle today. And I'm so excited for that.
We're finally a thing. And it's the same kind of feeling for me. Like, when people apply, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're applying. Like,
they like us.
There are people out there. They like us. They're excited.
What I love even more though is I have to embarrass Anise. Give a big shout out to her. I remember when Anise was an intern at Keeneland on the notes team, and she was because I'm a couple years older than you, so I had already been working in the industry for a bit. I think it was with WinStar, already with Grand Slam at that time. And I just thought, this girl is sharp. She is going places. And, to see what she's done in the past several years from when we first met, it's not a surprise, but it's fantastic to see. And it's doing so much for the industry.
Oh, thank you. And it's amazing to see what we've done and how we've grown, and growing this platform and having these kinds of conversations is so important for, again, like improving accessibility of the industry and making people feel welcome. So it's awesome. I love this stuff. This has been such a fun episode, guys. Thank you so much for jumping on board with this.
Well, thanks for having us, and vice versa.
This is great.
Yes, thank you. Let's do this again.
We should totally do it again.
And tell viewers where people can find you.
You can find us on social media. We are Retired Racehorse Radio on Facebook and Instagram. And if you go to horseradionetwork.com, you can find all of the Horse Radio Network family of podcasts, including Retired.
And we're on any podcast player too. So if you like Spotify, Apple, you can just look up Retired Racehorse Radio.
Awesome. And same thing for us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, at Amplify Horse Racing. We're on X. I have to say X, formerly known as Twitter, at Amplify Racing. People can get in touch with us at info@amplifyhorseracing.org and find us on whatever your favorite podcasting platform is. It's the Amplify Horse Racing podcast. We keep it very straightforward. So next time we're all in the same place. We're definitely going to have a Horse Girls / podcast friends unite kind of moment and get together and get all the horse show boyfriends and husbands together as well.
Gosh,
they'll love
them
it.
up.
They'll love it.
Round them up. And no, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see you guys in person again, whenever that might be. Definitely at a horse thing or at a track somewhere. And thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So much. It was so wonderful to meet y'all.
Same.
Well, I'm here with Tony from Cashel. You all know it from the ads you hear all the time on this show. But we're at the trade show, and this is the point of time in the year where we find out what's new coming out. So what's Cashel have new coming out?
Oh, we've got a great lineup of 32, 34 wool top pads.
So describe them.
5 different colors, real vibrant, bright, sharp-looking pads.
What makes them different?
Well, it's the fill. The wool felt on the inside is a natural felt, and the fleece on the bottom is 100% merino.
Oh, really? Okay. So these are soft and squishy pads.
Well, not real squishy, but soft, and they do absorb shock and saddle fit.
What do they retail for? What are those?
That's about $119.
That's the right price. Yeah. Anything else new with Cashel coming out?
Oh, we've got more saddle pads coming in the fall, new strap line coming in the fall. It's a two-tone that looks great with a great buckle set on it. We're always in development, so there's so many projects in the works.
What's still your most popular product? Is it still always the same things year after year?
Fly. You bet.
Yeah,
Fly
that's what we all.
protection is always it.
That's how I knew you in the first place was fly masks. Yep.
Yeah, many years ago, we were primarily fly masks and kind of had some tush cushions and a few odds and ends. Today, we've broadened that offering to saddlebags, strap, head stalls, breast collars, bell boots, leg protection, and it continues to grow.
Is there a place where somebody can go and see all the products?
Cashelcompany.com will give you a good offering.
There you go. Well, thank you, Tony. It's been fun seeing you again.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you.
Well, happy January, listeners. That means it is Retired Racehorse Project Thoroughbred Makeover 2024 application time. Applications are now being accepted for the 2024 Thoroughbred Makeover. So if you have a horse in your barn that you are thinking about, or you haven't gone shopping yet, but you're still really interested in getting involved, now is the time. Applications are only open through January 19th. After that, you will have to pay a late fee. We will probably still look at your application, but you just definitely want to get that in there sooner rather than later. Save yourself that late fee and get started with everybody else. Plus, if you get your application in on time and you are accepted, you run a much better chance of being one of our Making the Makeover featured riders for 2024. We're really excited to bring that series back, but we cannot feature you until you apply. So head over to therrp.org and start your application process right now.
Even under the best circumstances, travel is stressful for horses. We've all been there, stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You can make the journey knowing that US Rider is there for you. Get peace of mind on the road with US Rider's nationwide 24/7 roadside assistance coverage for both you and your horse. Join today at usrider.org.
Well, we are back with our friends at New Vocations. Tonight, we are joined by Winnie Morgan Nemeth. Welcome back, Winnie.
Thank you for having me.
So, Winnie, you are obviously involved with the Standardbred side of New Vocations, which I think most listeners know by now. Conveniently, we had for our training segment today, we had a listener question come in that I think is perfect for us to address tonight. So, Instagram handle Planet Nice Crafts, who is Caroline. Hello, Caroline. She wants to know, where can you look up Standardbred race record information?
Well, that's a great question. Thank you, Caroline, for asking that question. So, much like the Jockey Club or Equibase, where you might look up a thoroughbred's pedigree, you can also look up what your Standardbred or what a Standardbred has done to see, one, if they're registered and their race record. And that can be found by going to ustrotting.com. And then while on US Trotting, you would want to click to Pathway. And Pathway is the program that I use, hundreds of times a week, probably, looking up many, many horses. There is a small charge for it. So you could actually put in the horse's microchip number, or if they have a freeze brand, their freeze brand, and get like their name and their information if they were enrolled in a program called Full Circle. And I'll talk about that in a second. But if you want to pay, I think it is $1.75 to look up exactly the horse's pedigree, how many starts they had, when their last race was, or if they were raced. If they're a mare, it will note if they've ever had foals. It will also note when they were bred. Pathway is something, like I said, I use every day, but as in terms of a resource which tells you everything about horse, I don't know another breed that documents everything as well as US Trotting does for the Standardbreds. I also can do the same thing for AQHA.com because I have a quarter horse. And I'll tell you what, it's so hard for me to figure out, one, how many points he has, or if my daughter qualified for something. I am complaining constantly. I wish it was like Pathway, where I can just type in my horse's name and look everything up and it's all there. It's just such a great resource that we have. And they do such a great job of documenting everything. And they started a program, oh goodness, now probably, I don't want to say, but maybe 20 some years ago, called Full Circle. And what Full Circle is if somebody is interested, or if that horse is ever in need, someone entered them in Full Circle. And what they do is it gives you their contact information. So it doesn't mean that they're providing a home for the horse. It doesn't mean they're going to take the horse back or buy him out of a bad situation. It just means they did care at one time about that horse and they'd like to be contacted if he's in need of help or she is in need of help. So Full Circle is really nice. I don't know if they have something like that on the thoroughbred side. One thing that we do at New Vocations is when the horse goes through our program, we put them in Full Circle under New Vocations. So that way, if the owner or the trainer didn't do that, then we did that. And at least, again, it's just another precaution. Another thing you can see when you pull up on Pathway is if the horse has pleasure horse papers. And we are encouraging all owners to change their horses or convert them to pleasure horse papers. And what that means is that they would never be raced again. So if somebody, say down the road, got their hands on a horse, because I have like currently a 2-year-old that's in rehab. Imagine if he's 10 years old and somebody got a hold of him. He's a very well-bred trotter and they tried to, want to enter him to race. That can't ever happen. So the pleasure horse papers came into existence just about 6 years ago. And that's been very, very nice, again, to have for our standardbreds. And it's right there in Pathway. When you were to type in that horse's freeze brand or microchip number, all of that information would come up.
I love that. I love that Full Circle program too. That's like such a nice proactive, way to, try to get ahead of stuff like that. So that's really cool.
Yes.
So with
it is
the
very nice.
With the pleasure horse papers, is there any benefit, like is US Trotting using that information just to sort of like see how horses are moving through second careers? Like my guy's going to be 20 this year.
Okay.
So it obviously he's too old to race and I don't intend for him to like leave my hands, but is it helpful for me to do the pleasure horse papers just so that someone sees like, oh, this horse has found his way to an owner?
Well, being that he's 20, it's really not that big of a deal.
Like,
what
no
they
one
are
really
hoping
cares.
for is that horses of racing age, it takes them out of the racing population.
Okay.
So it does kind of show that that they're not racing anymore. So obviously they're doing something different. And they just, would like to be made aware of, like, is this horse racing or is it not racing? So something that we're encouraging all of our owners, donors, trainers, if they have access to do that. Obviously, it's whoever is down on paper is owning that horse. And then what it does is if you adopt that horse through New Vocations, we have a 2-year contract. Once you fulfill that contract, we can give you those pleasure horse papers and you can put that horse in your name. It was much harder to do that with their racing papers. So it makes that a lot easier because so many owners want to, say that they own their horse, and, US Trotting understood that. So the Jockey Club makes that a lot easier on horse ownership and converting and changing papers, but the Standardbreds do not. So, and I understand they're trying to protect their breed integrity and all of that, but with second careers, it has made it easier to show that those horses are not racing anymore.
Yeah, oh gosh, we could do a whole episode on that, on like how easy or difficult it is to get papers, and what value that
Yes.
brings, because I know so many people, at least on the Jockey Club side, are like, why can't I get my horse's papers? Why can't I get them? And, a lot of race folks will not let those papers leave their own hands, and it's like, okay, in a second career, you don't really need it, but it is kind of a nice, especially if you do come out of the AQHA world where the papers are everything.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah, interesting, just the cultural differences, breed to breed. So yeah, that's a whole different episode. We could do that for hours.
Yes. But how I wish, the AQHA would have a way of tracking their horses, but I don't think that will ever happen. But goodness, it's so nice to be able to identify our horses on the racehorse side with both thoroughbreds and standardbreds. It's amazing.
Well, and having it all in a one-stop shop too, I think is really cool, because it is a little more difficult to figure out how to look up, and thoroughbreds aren't lip tattooed anymore, but for me, it wasn't very easy to figure out where to look that up. And with the standardbreds, you just go to that one spot and plug that number in and there's your horse. So yeah.
Yes.
Much
so
easier.
easy. I love it.
Yeah, I
I use it daily.
Yes, yeah. You're probably like you're marked in their system. They're like, this IP address keeps coming back so many times.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, I had a flashback to my AQHA days and how difficult it is to navigate their system. So AQHA, if you're listening.
Yes, please.
Hit us up.
Please. I just have one of them.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's very hard to track down numbers and points and all of that. And it just shouldn't be, when I can look up a horse and be like, oh, he earned $600,000, 350 times he raced. Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, speaking of horses who raced, tell us a little bit about our adoptable horse of the week, Touch of Kathryn. She is so lovely.
She is lovely. Doesn't she have such a classy head, like an eye, like so much wisdom is in that face, let me tell you.
I know. I just want to go and hug her. Looking at these pictures.
So Touch of Kathryn is part of our Matron of Honors program, which is our retired broodmares program that we started now almost 2 years ago. And it's just been really exciting to see these retired broodmares, no matter what their age was, that they're done with that career, moving on into, we'll say, their third career. And Touch of Kathryn is a 2007 pacing mare. And she had, and I can easily see because I'm looking at Pathway right now, she had 20 starts and raced 58,000 times. She also was a mother of 6 foals, and her foals earned $274,000. Her owners were deciding that they didn't want to breed her anymore and sent her to us. And she has just transitioned really well. Some of these girls take a little bit more time, and she's definitely been one of those that's taken a little bit more time. She was not sure that, a rider up on her, she's trying to make everyone happy, and she wasn't sure that's what we were wanting. She was a little nervous, but it's been so great to watch her transition into now going out on trail rides with other horses. She's happy to lead. She's happy to follow. She's good at the mounting block. She's great now with you, like shifting in the saddle. That used to be an issue. And as you can imagine, that's something, to go right from racing to the breeding shed. You're a mom. Now you're not. Her life totally changed.
That's a lot of changes. Yeah.
Yes. And she did come to us with a lot of weight. She had a rump like a peach. She was very round, as some mothers that have had a lot of babies are. And so we worked on with our vet closely on just helping her easily lose some weight. We put some shoes on because it did look like she possibly could have foundered earlier in her life. She is now sound riding with shoes. She's dropped some weight and it's just, her life's a lot easier. I mean, she was very overweight, beautiful, but very overweight. And I'd rather see that than the other side that we see a lot more of skinny. She's been so well taken care of. And now she's just like goes out with her friends and she can run and play and have fun, because before she was just so large. She's such a beautiful mare. So kind, tries to please. She's going to be a great friend to any horse. Like, she has that mothering instinct. She's happy. She goes out with other mares right now. I'm sure, and maybe one gelding she might fall in love. I'm not sure. We don't really recommend that. But, to trail ride her with other horses, she's just been fantastic. And so she is available now. We do have our December special going, which is really, really nice.
I love her. And I believe she is related to my horse. Western Terror, is he by Western Hanover?
He is, yes, by Western Hanover. You're right.
I was going to say, I see a lot of Wes in this, like the facial expressions. And I'm like, I think Wes is her uncle. And Wes is a delight. So I'm going to say this family is going to be boss. So yeah, somebody needs to run out and adopt this mare. She is so sweet.
She is. And I mean, she's not spooky or anything. Just great to handle. None of the things that people, really don't like. She's been seasoned and you can tell that, but she's just a wise girl. We've really enjoyed seeing her transformation.
Just going to casually text this link to my mom real fast.
Go right ahead.
See if mom wants to adopt a horse here. All right. Okay. All right. Carry on.
So yeah, we're excited to have her. And we have another mare that just got posted today. So I love our brood mares. I am so excited to see this program do well, even though, we're placing about 12 to 15 mares a year. It's been really great to see them transition.
Oh, that's really cool. That's such a nice program that you guys are doing, and, very well needed in the industry.
Yes.
Like, I know that, I know we don't really know the numbers on horses like that looking for a home, but the fact that these programs are, coming into the spotlight more and more, I think is just such a lovely thing for the industry. So very cool.
It really is. Yes.
All right, folks, you know where to go. newvocations.org or horseadoption.com and get those applications in so that you do not miss out on horses like Kate, who I hope you all are going to miss out on, because maybe my mom will adopt her. So we'll see how it goes.
That would be fun. That would be great.
All right. Thanks again, Winnie.
Thank you.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that fun collaborative episode with Amplify Horse Racing. They're a really cool group. We encourage you guys to take a look and get involved. You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram, just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram at The Horseback Rider and on Twitter at Kristen Kovac. My email is kbentley@therrp.org.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mare, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products and Cashel Company, and to our partners, New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And add more leg.
And wash your hands. Bye, guys.